Live and direct today on this Sunday night. This time we're going to start the podcast. Here we go. Alrighty, so today we have a wonderful show that was pre-recorded earlier this morning, and I'm on with my friend Kayden Harbour. Me and this man have known each other for a very long time, about a year and a half now. We met at a time when we don't even really remember it. I think it was just a very quick interaction, and we got each other's social media. And since then, we had just talked on Snapchat and Instagram and all of the social medias and stuff. And one day he asked me if I could be his mentor, and the rest is history. We went to just talk and talk and talk pretty much all day just on texting. And I've only met him once. So, but we've had a lot of phone calls over the year, and it's been a pretty cool relationship. But yeah. So anyways, got this podcast with him, and we're going to rock it up. So yeah, enjoy. How you doing?
Yo, what's up? Doing good, man.
Dude,
How about
hell
yourself?
yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. So, we were already talking before this, and I was just like, holy crap, we need to start recording before we drop some gold. Bro, we've known each other for over a year now, like a little over, I want to say a year and a half. And it's funny because we don't even remember it happening. And primarily our relationship has fostered itself over social media and on Snapchat and over text and stuff. But to me, the pivoting moment of when we started talking and becoming friends was, and this is such a smart thing to do, bro. I can't even stress this to you enough. You came to me and you were like, bro, can you be my mentor?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude, hell yeah. I love teaching people how to do stuff,
Yeah.
Because to me, that's part of my life's purpose, one of my greatest passions is sharing my knowledge and wisdom with other people and allowing it, kind of like putting it into layman's terms so that it's easily digested. I was just writing this in my journal yesterday. Like the person that I am is, I'm always challenging people to be better than them, who they are, and I'm always trying to bring out the best version. Oh, bro, I literally said, okay. I am the kind of person that changes lives whenever I open my mouth. I'm a challenger of limiting beliefs and unused potential.
I like that, bro. I like that.
Yeah, it's awesome, bro. Hey, shout out to the journal, bro.
That's actually yeah.
Tell me about that.
So, yeah, actually, I saw like this manifestation journal on I think it was TikTok. I'm not sure. One of the social medias. It was like an ad, and it had like a daily goals and like daily reminders, and then it was like And if you this, how does it make you feel? What are your dreams? And then it was like, how do you feel once you already achieved it, right? And I was like, well, I don't need to buy a $30 journal. I can just, take a little, $5 notebook I have and write that myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. And then I've been doing dreams super often. I write it down and wake up, because if I think about it, that's when it starts to drift away.
Yeah.
So it's my nightstand, and I have a pen right there. Wake up, bam. And
we're finished.
I want to say, and then at the end of the day, that's when I write in my journal. I dissect the day, and then I write my goals for the next day, and then I go to bed.
Nice. That's really, really good, bro. Did you just start doing that on your own or from somebody?
Well, I just saw it on that. Well, actually, I had heard from multiple different people about their journals and stuff. And I had got recommended to start a dream journal. So I was just like, well, I know it could probably be healthy for me. You know what I mean? And so I just started doing it. This was about.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you've heard about different examples of people who started dream journals, but for example, the guy who made the periodic table, the periodic table of elements.
Yeah.
This guy just meddling over, how to arrange the elements for like weeks. I think it was maybe even months. Couldn't figure it out. He was getting super frustrated. One night he was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna make it come to me in a dream, And so he spends, the last little bit of his time at night, looking over all the elements and everything. And he has a dream where they just perfectly, arrange themselves in a logical manner. And then he woke up and wrote it all down frantically. Yeah. And then, that was how the periodic table.
I'm going to talk about the dream, and then I'm going to loop it back to where we were talking about the flow state, because you had brought that up.
Yeah.
So personally, I believe that when you're asleep, right, it said that your brain is resting. That's when your brain is resting, it's recharging. But you don't need sleep to rest your brain, to rest your body, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But there's that REM state, the deep sleep that you can't get if you're just resting your body. I believe when you reach that state, that's when you dream. That's when you have
That's correct.
That's the height of your sleep. That's when you get the most rest. That's the most important type of sleep,
It is.
You got to reach that point in order to, sleep well and get your body fully rested. I believe when you're in that state, that REM state, I'm not sure what the full term is, but I know it's represented by REM.
It's rapid eye movement.
Rapid eye movement, yeah, that's what it is. And when you look at people, you can see their eyes goes moving back and forth. And so, but I believe that you have I don't know the correct terms, almost like a heightened consciousness. You're able to use your brain in ways you can't when you're awake, right? So you have your right hemisphere, left hemisphere that control, different attributes to your thoughts, pretty much.
Right. Do you mind if I interject on that?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So I actually read this book called Why We Sleep, and it talks all about that. And what you said about, you have a heightened consciousness, it's cool, because what you actually have is a heightened subconsciousness, and your subconscious thoughts start to manifest themselves in the forefront of what your, brain is kind of putting together, right? And so when you're sleeping, it's very different from when you're awake, because when you're awake, your thoughts are more linear. They're more of a one-track mind thing. If you're sober, that is, right? And
based off of what you're seeing, right?
Yeah. It's because you're constantly bombarded with sensory, experiences. So when you're sleeping, the only thing that's being, registered by your brain is your thoughts, essentially. And so it's connecting thoughts from every different, little corner of your brain, and it's bringing things together and kind of meshing ideas that wouldn't normally be meshed together. And so that's how people can, just to create. This is how people are able to have these crazy enlightenments, just overnight.
Lucid dreaming.
Yeah, and one thing to note also is that the last thing that you think about before bed, the last thing that you do before bed is what you're going to dream about. That's primarily what your dreams will be, filled with is whatever.
So I wonder how that could be deciphered in the people that don't dream. REM state.
So what's interesting, a lot of people don't know this simply because it's not talked about, is that REM is not the only state of sleep that dreams happen in. You can
really?
Yes. Yeah. So it happens in light and deep sleep. But the most like deep dreams and like the longest time that you're dreaming is REM sleep. And it actually matters how long you dream about something. It actually does. Like it actually affects like how you learn about it. I would argue that most of our learning is subconscious and it happens a lot of the time when you're sleeping.
Oh, guaranteed, because how can you can't learn something without deciphering it in your own brain, right? Think about math, for example. You're going to take 2 plus 2, you're going to look at it and you're going to think 2 plus 2, 4, right? 2 fingers, right? Whatever. Whichever way your brain, there's a subconscious thought from when you see it, that visual perspective to the mental perspective of it. Because everybody, some people can't do mental math. That's just a perfect example. Some people need to write it down, but that's just a different example of how different people's brains work. You could have a more physical brain or a more intuitive brain. You know what I mean?
No, and I agree.
Yeah. Going back to the flow state. So we were talking about how you did a little bit of research on the flow state. Well, and I brought up cliff jumpers, right? I used to be super into cliff jumping. I'm not really into it anymore because there's not really any cliffs around me.
Yeah.
I get into it when I do find some cliffs.
Also, just for the viewers, where do you live?
I live in Texas, man. I live in Texas, Splendora, Texas.
Okay, there you go.
Yep. And
Texas,
baby. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
Right. But there's a lot of very famous cliff jumpers now. A lot of people would call them adrenaline junkies, right?
Yeah, I would.
And so there's something that they all talk about that it's called the flow state. And it's talked about when you take your step off that cliff, when you jump, your mind takes over, there's that subconscious control, right? And your body knows what to do, right? We've done it so many times, that muscle memory, your body just takes over. It's that moment of freedom. It's like what we call it. You feel like you're flying. The flow state. It's like the most enjoyable. It's that adrenaline rush. The second you jump off to the second you hit the water. It's just, it's amazing. It's pure bliss. And I believe that's why so many people, they're like, oh my gosh, why do I want to do it again? That adrenaline rush. Your brain is surged with dopamine.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So then you could even take it deeper into, because there's different ways to reach that flow state, right? You could have deep meditation, deep sleep, right? Tons of different ways, but there's also a lot of ways that aren't healthy, right? But in that moment, there comes a time where your brain and that flow state clash, that the subconscious and your conscious clashing at each other. Especially if you're trying to, for example, this is a really good example, actually. If you're trying to learn a new flip off the cliff, right? You can visualize it in your head. You can watch people do it, but you don't know until you actually do it, right? And so that's where you mash the subconscious and the conscious. You're thinking about how you do it, but then you're actually doing it at the same time, right? So then that kind of overpowers the flow state. But until that thing becomes muscle memory, that's when it becomes fun. And I think that's why you have adrenaline junkies, and then, but it sometimes it leads down a really bad path, to be honest, because some people, they find other ways to reach that flow state, for example, other ways to find pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's not.
The thing about dopamine is that when you start to condition yourself to the level of dopamine getting before, well, let me back it up with this concept here. So like you have a baseline dopamine level.
Yeah.
Baseline is, down here. Meth is times 10, your normal baseline. Cigarettes is times 2. Sex is times 2. There, just I'm sure cliff jumping is somewhere in the 10, and when you overstate, your baseline jumps up a notch. So if you're always smoking cigs, then you're going to stay at that times 2 level of baseline dopamine enjoyment. So like, normal things that would be normally like a times 1, like maybe eating a piece of chocolate, is not going to be as enjoyable anymore, Yeah. And in order to have that enjoyment that you did before, you have to go above that. You have to do more constantly. It's more and more and more. That's why, the pursuit of pleasure is really, in my eyes, the circle of suffering. And it just never ends. It's like this endless circle of like, I can't get what I want. I can't get what I want.
I have a really good example for that.
Please tell me more.
So there's a mythological creature. It's called the Ouroboros, a snake that eats its own tail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's plenty of examples and metaphors, you could say, that it's used for. But a lot of the times it's used for like drug users chasing the dragon, right? You're gonna, that dopamine rush. And then eventually that drug no longer gives you that dopamine rush.
Right.
Move on to the next one, right? Till you reach that 10, and now you have nowhere else to go, right? And so that's kind of what it's used for, the snake that eats its own tail. You ever watch a dog try to eat its own tail? Never catches it, but it also never stops.
That's right. It'll right.
Go until it runs out of energy.
Real. And that's a good one, man. That's a really good one. It's that's the thing with I don't think there's a problem with being an adrenaline junkie as long as you have a voice of reason, to kind of keep you from doing the things that are just downright stupid, because
there's always, like, for example, when I used to go cliff jumping, I'll admit there are some things I've jumped off of and flipped off of that I look at today and I'm like,
oh shit.
Whoa, I did that at one point.
Yeah.
But we tried to make it as safe as possible,
Yeah,
and you know your own limits. We'll check the water, make sure it's deep enough, for example. Try to keep people away from jumping something that's way too high for their limits.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, it's up to you to make sure you hit the water safely, because that's the most dangerous part, is hitting the water. But because from that high up, you'll hear a lot of people say it's like hitting concrete. If you hit the water flat, yeah, it's like hitting concrete. But when you hit the water straight up and down, it takes a lot more control than people think from that high up, because the water, it wants to rip your limbs off.
Yeah.
You hit that water going 50 miles an hour, that water's not going anywhere. It's slowing you down, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this story vividly. There's this rock in Emerald Pools, California. You need to go there if you know.
Dude, you told me about this. You told me. Yeah.
This summer, I'm going to try to make it out. We're going to go. All right. We're doing it.
Okay.
And it's called Emerald Pools. It's off of Immigrant Gap. And you hike them probably like a mile or 2 down. That's mainly the pools known as Emerald Pools. And then there's a waterfall going in, several sets of different jumping rocks, all different heights. But there's just one big rock called Goliath, right? Now, all these popular cliff jumpers, exactly, it's big, scary, right? The biggest one there. Now, you got some balls, you got some big cojones if you're going to jump off this Goliath, right?
Okay.
Now, they put grip tape on the biggest rocks there, right? Because I'm talking about, like, professional cliff jumpers go there. They're throwing, like, triple gainers with twists, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're going crazy. They're all sponsored. Like, I'm talking about, like, Volcom sponsored like that.
Yeah.
And I jumped off. So there's actually these 2 other people there. They were drunk. They were a little bit older than me. I was 16. They were like 19. They're throwing down some flips with me. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're so good, right? Because I had diving experience. So I could do like lots of flips.
By the way, sorry to interrupt, but Kayden can hella flip.
Yeah.
His alias is Kayden Flips. This man can throw some crazy jumps and everything like that. Just so the viewers know some context. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to be a springboard diver. I was that for 11 years almost. So yeah. But there's a whole story to go from those two guys. But anyways, they were trying to convince me to jump off. And I'm like, I want to, but I also wanted to flip off. This is where the argument in my brain came. I want to do a gainer flip off. Now, gainers are my favorite flips, where you run forward, jump off, but you flip backwards towards the rock. Right? Yeah. And the reason why a lot of people like them is because during the flip, you have total vision, right? As soon as your head does that flip, you can see the rock you just jumped from, and you can see the water below you. And you can also see your feet. So you can choose where you put your feet, right?
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people like that. And people will say, well, that's a lot to think about in that short time. It's not, when you really think about it, it feels an eternity when you're doing it.
Right.
But, it's that mind over matter. And I was really contemplating, do I want to flip? It's really high. It was 87 feet to be exact. Okay. It's higher and lower at times, depending on the water level, of the river. So if you go in winter, it's more like 77 feet. The water rises a lot. The height of summer, it could be anywhere from like 85 to 90. I think the highest ever recorded was 93, and that was in like one of the worst droughts.
Yeah.
But that summer, what's his name? Robert Wall, he's a famous cliff jumper. He had measured it in May. I think it's 87 and something. So I go up there, and at this point, there's a crowd. All right.
Oh, dang.
I'm hyped up, but at the same, I spent like 30 minutes up there just sitting. I know the water's deep enough. I know all that's good, but I know it's gonna hurt when I hit that water, right? But I also know, when am I gonna be here again? When am I gonna be able to do this again? And so I just did it. I went up there. I sat up there for about 30 minutes, but when I finally stood on that tape, I looked down. I just said, I'm gonna do it. Counted to 3. And I jumped off. And I remember on my way down, this is in the video of me jumping this. And I say, oh, shit, right? On the way down. And because it felt like I was falling forever. And when I hit the water, it felt like my legs were going to be ripped off. So I hit the water with my feet together, just like this. And when I hit the water, bam, they got split and spread apart. My arms got like yanked back.
Yeah.
And people don't expect that, and imagine what would happen if you hit the water like with your body flat or your arms spread apart. Not good. And I was sore for probably like 2 days. My back hurt, my shoulders were sore. The pressure change was insane as well. People don't ever consider that either. You jump off an 87-foot cliff, you're just going 87 feet and then probably 20 feet down into the water.
Yeah.
There's a great pressure change there when it happens in the matter of 2 seconds, if that. And so you got to spend time popping your ears. You're going to be a little bit disoriented, and, a lot of people will consider it crazy, but then you ask people why they do it, and they'll say, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember days where I spent weekends at the cliffs, be it, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and some water. That's all we had. But, it was the time of our lives. We loved it. And that's what it was.
Man, that's awesome. So from the perspective of from what I'm kind of hearing, you're an amateur, which means that you have a passion for it, but you're not like on the professional level. Amateur gets a bad rap. That word gets a bad rap these days. But from the perspective of an amateur and trying to be more, consistent diver, you literally are a diver. From that perspective, how do you maintain that state of calm? And, when you're on the edge, like what's going through your mind when you're on the edge, and how do you kind of quell those possibly overwhelming emotions? And what do you recommend to other people for them to kind of practice so they can adopt that same way of thinking, so that they can kind of overcome that? Because, for me, if I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, I'm just like, oh God, dude, am I really going to do this? Like, what would you, like, what do you feel whenever you're doing that?
I'm going to address the amateur thing too. Okay. especially in diving. You could have cliff jumping. There's no way to put it. It's a sport of its own. Yeah. There's so many styles. Everybody has their own style, right? But in diving, springboard diving, platform diving, there's a certain way to do things. There's a certain way, point your toes, hold your hands, make the small splash, certain things like, you learn the professionalism of it, the mannerisms of moving your body the best way, learning how to flip the fastest, because there is a mechanical side of it, You want to hold the smaller tuck, the smaller the ball. Mm-hmm. Centrifugal force. The bigger the ball, the smaller the flip. Twisting, you want to have your hands and arms together so you can spin faster because that keeps your body tight. Variations and ways to do things that are so strict in diving that you take over to the cliffs. Sure, I can do so many things that other people couldn't. But there's also that side that I'm an amazing diver. I have national things, national.
Hey, your shirt is rubbing against your mic.
Oh, is it? Oh, my bad.
You're good.
I have national awards, and I still can't do these flips that these people that have never stepped foot on a diving board can. Never had any type of schooling for diving. Cliff diving it's a freestyle sport. There's no professional, amateur. One person might be able to do a triple gainer, but can't do a front flip. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all the mental side of things, because some people can move their bodies and do in ways that other people just can't figure it out. And so that's particularly why I love cliff jumping. There's just, in so many sports, there's that clicks. If you're not as good as us, get out of here. That in cliff jumping, it's just all welcoming. We're going to try to teach you some cool flips, learn from us. And I think in the last couple of years, it's actually progressed a lot. Like, I've been out of the game. Like, I haven't been cliff jumping a lot, but it's some kids I know, I watch them progress from, me even teaching them. So now they're in New Zealand with famous YouTubers cliff jumping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it, is there's continual progression. And what's from diving is you're always on the same 1 meter, 2 meter, and then platform. Cliff jumping, you could take it from small, any height you could imagine, right? Obviously, there's a limit, but people are always pushing that limit, right? And that's what I love about it. And personally, I think for when the nerves get the best of me, I actually had this thing I used to do. So when we used to stand on the edge of the board for back dives or gainers or whatever, you would have half your feet on the board, half your feet off the board, and you would do what called like a crow hop or whatever.
Okay.
You would slowly back the board, and when you go, you'd lift your feet off a little bit, like a mini jump, and then you'd press down really hard and jump off. You'd spring the board, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I was rocking, you'd hold your hands out like this for balance, and then when you go, you swing your arms to get that momentum. I used to rub my fingers together. I used to do it 7 times. After that 7 times, I would say, okay, 1 breath, and then I'd say 1, 2, 3. I'd do my arm swing, and then boom, I'd go. Right there, that's when I knew, But it takes a lot to overpower the nerves, especially for new dives. Like, because I used to do that same thing. I'd make myself fat, think about it too much. But that's what doing that thing. I don't know why I did it, but one day I was like, rub my hands together. I was like, oh, it felt right. I was like, 1, 2, 3, go. Right. So that's been my thing. Is 1, 2, 3, go. If you can't get your mind through it, 1, 2, 3, go. Your body will get through it.
That's right.
Exactly. And
that's interesting.
And one thing that always helped me to was it can only hurt so much.
Yeah.
What's 5 minutes of pain for 10 minutes of glory?
Right, baby.
So that's a viewpoint that I always had is water can only hurt so much. If I belly flop, what's 5 minutes of stinging? Mm-hmm. But then there comes that to think that way. But then when you're laying there in the water in pain, you're like, why'd I do that? Right?
Yeah.
There's a whole different thought process.
Yeah, but then you're also like, you're that guy that did the belly flop. You're that guy that did the crazy dive. Like everyone's gonna be like, bro, you're a freaking badass.
Exactly. But there's
you get
there's
that
also
glory.
a side of every time it gets easier,
Yeah.
right? Take it almost like throwing up. Every time you throw, almost like it wasn't as bad as time.
Correct.
Right? When you belly flop every time, oh, it wasn't as bad as last time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it didn't hurt as bad as I remembered, right? So then you're more likely to get back up there and do it again.
That starts to be that pain and that suffering.
Yeah.
It starts to become a new normal.
Yeah. And like you said, that encouragement from your surroundings by your pupils or your teammates is definitely very helpful. Instead of people being like, oh, and running to you like you're a pussy, they're all like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a bunch of dudes. You get that testosterone flowing through the air.
A bunch of girls too, bro.
Oh yeah, especially I think. Actually, good point. That's
right?
funny. Yeah. No. So is that what you would say then? Is like to other people that are trying to do it? 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah, it's about overcoming. Stop thinking and do it.
Yeah.
I see that is a very common occurrence today. Is people are so caught up in thinking that they can't see what they just need to do.
Analysis paralysis.
Exactly. They're too busy thinking about, all the outcomes when they just, pick a dot and run right through versus going around the maze, just run right through.
Well, I think that most people's problem is that they want it to be perfect on their first try, which is
that's
no matter how skilled you are, perfection is a false idol,
I love to tell people when they think like that, be like, okay, pop out the womb.
Straight freestyle.
No, you did not. You had to learn, right? Progression is a non-stop. That's one thing about the human mind. It'll always progress. The more knowledge, the better. The more wiser you become, right? There is no amount of knowledge that we'll ever achieve that's too much.
That's right.
You will always be able to learn.
There's a couple of there's a concept that I like to subscribe to that flirts with the idea that there is no limit to the amount of knowledge that we can store in our mind, subconscious or conscious.
Yeah, and
because the knowledge is energy, and our brain has been proved a bunch of times, countless times, that we have like an unlimited store of energy. Like we can, like it's always creating more space, and also we only know about 10% of what our brain actually does. So. Or I don't know if that's true, but we only use 10%. Yeah.
I don't know if this is true, but to go on that, I've heard that we only use 10% of our brain at a time, right? We have 100% of our brain, just like the right and left hemispheres. We use them when we do different things.
Right.
This was actually related to a psychedelic post, and I'm pretty sure it might have just been a theory, but it was pretty eye-opening to say the least, even if it's not true. It could be a placebo effect, but when you take psychedelics, you have different levels of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Like almost, you could even use meditation, for example, versus using psychedelics. But when you meditate and you want to reach that point of almost like peace, Zen, right?
Yep.
And it takes a while to get there. You're going to focus on your breath. If your brain wanders, focus on your breath. That's all it takes, right? And my brain just got totally lost thinking about all this. But when you meditate, it's almost like you manifest the things you want, right? Just like you said, the last thing you think about is what you dream about, right?
Right.
When you have a bad day, if you're thinking about how bad your day is just going to continue to be bad.
Oh yeah, because that's.
And I think that's what people get caught up in, is take life like a maze, for example, right? You're the rat. Instead of working your way through the maze and, going back when you find a dead wall, you're trying to break down that wall instead of, just going back and going down the right path. They're trying to break down the wall and create the right path themselves. And I think that's where people get caught up, just like we were talking about, is there's all these different ways you can get there, but there's also the fastest and the easiest, right?
Right.
And I think people get lost in the fact that they're struggling and they it's actually a very true thing with depression. I actually went through that at ease in depression, right? You're so used to that feeling that anything else feels out of place. So you end up reverting back to that depression state. And I think that's why so many people fail to even succeed in their dreams and their goals, is because they'll start and they'll face a problem and then they go back,
It's because when you try to you can't use simple willpower to overcome something like that. Because when you're thinking, don't be depressed, or like, I want to be happy, I don't want to be sad.
That's not what you're thinking.
You're thinking about, that's what you're thinking about. And so instead of doing that, you have to replace those thoughts with positive thoughts. You have to start to create a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
Well, I want to read this right here. This is incredible. This is from a book about trading, actually. So I've highlighted a bunch of different paragraphs on this page here. I'm just going to kind of like go off here.
Yeah,
It says, winning and consistency are states of mind in the same way that happiness, having fun, and satisfaction are states of mind. Your state of mind is a byproduct of your beliefs and your attitudes. So like when you have depression, you're having it's a state of mind. It's a depressed state of mind. It's a negative state of mind that's created by whatever you believe about yourself and the world around you. And it's about your attitude towards the situations in your life. So if you really want to like stop being depressed, it's just about like, you have to take conscious effort to change your beliefs. You have to replace your negative beliefs with.
I actually really, really agree with that, because that's honestly how I got out of depression.
Literally, bro. Let me.
Keep going.
So you can try to create consistency without having the appropriate beliefs and attitudes, but your results won't be different than if you try to be happy when you're not having fun. When you're not having fun, it can be very difficult to change your perspective. One where you all of a sudden start enjoying yourself. Of course, the circumstances of your situation could suddenly shift in a way that causes you to experience joy, but then your state of mind would be the result of an external shift in conditions, not a result of an internal attitude. If you depend on outside conditions and circumstances to make you happy so that you are always enjoying yourself, then it's extremely unlikely that you will experience happiness on a consistent basis. And what he's saying is like, if you want to always be, if you always want to be enjoying yourself, you can't depend on what's happening around you to make that happen. It's completely dependent on how you perceive, the situation, like what your attitude is towards it. Let's see here.
It's actually something I have to add on to that. Okay. It's almost like an example that I actually read a while ago in a Reddit post about meditation. Is when you're happy, it feels as if time flies, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You feel like eternal, right? You feel almost as if you live forever. Time doesn't pass, but it does. When you're not happy, when you're just in that boredom state, it's almost as if time doesn't move. You're stuck there.
Dude, right? Literally though.
So, for example, like you said, it's about the way you perceive things. Instead of being bored at home in that boredom state, pick up a book and learn. Do something to
seriously get your mind moving.
Yeah, keep your mind moving. And there's tons of studies about that, how reading keeps your mind fresh, right? Helps keep your mind healthy. Or for example, like tons of things. You can pick up anything to do. You can go walk, do some push-ups. There's no reason for you to be sitting at home bored.
Dude, for real. Boredom is literally like
boredom is what you created.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or what you didn't create. It's like, dude, literally
It's the
boredom is
creation of
when
suffering.
it's when you have something in front of you that you're doing that you don't want to be doing, but you don't know what you do want to be doing. Like you just can't figure out what you want to do because like it's really a state of unfulfillment. Like boredom, like if you're bored doing your homework is because, you don't see a meaning in it. There's not a deeper meaning in it to you. You're not being fulfilled by doing your homework. So it's boring, or you're just like on your phone. A lot of people will be on their phone all day, but they're going to say that they're bored because it's really unfulfilling to be on your phone all day.
Yeah.
And so like, it's a matter of like, you have to, I don't want to say figure out what you want to be doing. You just kind of have to like literally start learning about something. You have to do something.
That's where it starts is you got to do something.
It starts with,
something
starts with
is better
moving.
than nothing.
Yeah. Like, okay, solving boredom and being happy and trying to be successful is really like riding a bike, not in the sense that, oh, you always know how to do it, but you only are moving forward and actually like you're feeling good when you're pedaling. When you're pedaling, you have the wind blowing through your hair. You're moving forward and you have a goal now. You're going somewhere. But as soon as you stop, what starts to happen? As soon as you stop pedaling, you slow down. You start wobbling.
You slow down,
and you might crash. You might crash. You might, and then you stop. And then if you stop, you're like, oh, what's happening?
When you're constantly moving, there's a balance.
Yeah, exactly. You get
when
that.
You're standing still, things get thrown out of whack.
Yeah, you no longer have the security of the equilibrium working in your favor. And so like humans, we're goal striving people. Like we're goal striving machines, really. Like we're only happy if we're working towards something. If we have a purpose, And
there's a book that talks about that really well.
There's a lot of books to talk about that one.
Let's see. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F.
Yeah, that one, dude.
This comes from solving problems.
Yes, it literally does, bro.
It does.
There's a lot of other books that put it a little bit more eloquently than that book, because I've read several books that talk about that. Even this one that I'm kind of quoting out of right now. Another thing that he says in here is like being consistent is not something you can try to be, because the very act of trying will negate your intent by mentally taking you out of the opportunity flow, making it less likely that you will win and more likely that you will lose. And he's talking about trading in the winning and losing,
You can take that to any aspect in life.
Literally. Literally, bro.
Don't try, just do it.
Yeah.
For Yoda, there is no try.
What he says is really interesting. He says it's going to take you out of the opportunity flow. It's going to take you out of that creative state where you're just like kind of trusting your instinct and just doing it instead of being like, okay, what should I do next? Like,
exactly.
What I was kind of like getting to before, what I was trying to find is the fact that like in this book right here, Trading in the Zone, really amazing read. Even if you're not a trader, just I can't speak more highly of it. He says, I really like when he's talking about energy in this, where he says, beliefs can be altered, but not in a way that most people think. I believe that once a belief has been formed, it cannot be destroyed. In other words, there's nothing we can do that would cause one or more of our beliefs to cease to exist or to evaporate as if they never existed at all. This assertion is founded in the basic law of physics. According to Albert Einstein and others in the scientific community, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. If beliefs are energy, structured conscious energy that is aware of its existence, which is really are energy that are aware of themselves. It's kind of weird. It's kind of crazy, dude. It's like it makes me tingle thinking about that. Yeah. Then this same principle of physics can be applied to beliefs, meaning, and we try to eradicate them. It's not going to work. We can't get rid of them by like trying to just destroy them. We have to transform those beliefs to new
Exactly.
beliefs. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Bro, it's
Exactly, bro.
crazy.
It is.
It's crazy to think about
Yeah,
that.
so you
bro.
have to shift. You can take a
Seriously.
really good example as for proving that is true, actually. For example, when you grow up a kid with dreams, you want to be this certain thing in life. People grow old, they didn't accomplish that. What's something that they always regret? Not following their dreams. So that just proves it right there.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I was looking at
So think you could prove that by example for people not following their dreams, right?
Yeah.
You can grow old, not accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. What's one thing that a lot of people regret and say they didn't follow their dreams, right? Well, you could shift your dream into something that you want or whatever, right? For example, but that's one thing I hear a lot from so many different people is I didn't follow my dreams.
Dude.
A lot of a reoccurring theme I see is where would I be if I followed my dreams?
For real.
And it's like, I don't want to be that. I want to be the one that did follow my dreams.
Seriously, bro. No, literally though, like what a lot of people, I'm actually reading a book it's a fictional, so the book, The Alchemist, it's super popular. I've always been told to read it and I'm finally getting to it. Actually,
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, dude, I was glued to it. I was starting to read it for the first time a couple days ago. I read 50 pages in one sitting. I couldn't stop. I was like, this is amazing. Awesome. So good. So good.
That's awesome.
But anyways, this old man that he meets in the book, that sells crystals like cups, like glass cups.
Yeah.
And little like figures and stuff made of crystal. The kid's like, why don't you expand your store? You got a lot of money. Like a lot of people love your shop. Why don't you make it bigger? Why don't you scale? And the dude's like, because I'm not comfortable with that. Like that would be doing something that I don't know how to do. And I don't want to do things that I don't know how to do. He's like, yeah. I know how to do this and I'm happy with doing that. And then they have this super deep talk later and they're like, the dude's like, you know what? I'm starting to become a little bit sad because now you're making me realize what my potential is. Like he's almost saying like, how dare you make me realize my potential?
Yeah.
Because now I'm like thinking about all the things that I could have done instead of me wasting my time doing this shop. But I'm going to still keep doing this. Like, it's like he's literally denying his own like, extreme existence,
That exact story right there actually happened to, and we'll get into like personal affairs or family affairs, but a family member, older in age, but same thing. You're doing this, but you could be doing this with today's technology. Sales could go from here to skyrocketing. But again, he's comfortable doing this. He knows how to do this. So he's going to keep doing this, right? All in the process, and that all those arguments came about in the process of selling the business, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but for real, if he just had one person that knew how to market, knew how to put ads, or even someone that could use technology good, could have advanced his business and made it go along a lot further than it did.
Well, that's why someone might, capture his vision and then take it and do exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like this business could be way better, and that's the circle of life, man. That's the circle of business. It's like find a problem and learn how to solve it better than everyone else is doing. And that's just like, that's literally it. Like you want to start a business, this is to everyone. If you want to start a business, all that you have to do is find a problem. Maybe it's already being solved, but you need to find a problem and learn how to solve it more creatively or better. Simply put, more creatively or more skilled and more talented, better and faster. Learn how to solve it faster, learn how to do it better, be more creative. That's it. And then find people that have that vision and have them do it with you or inspire them so much that they beg you to do it with you.
Yeah,
Because-
if everybody has to shower and they have to wait for the rain, you need to be the inventor of the shower head.
That's right.
That's right. That's
For
what they
real,
need
bro.
to do.
For real, bro.
Exactly,
Make it rain, baby.
exactly, bro.
Dude, that's so cool, bro.
Yeah.
You know, funny, it's actually storming like crazy
Is it?
right now. It's really storming. Not at the moment. It's not raining as we speak, but it's been, yesterday was insane, bro.
Really?
It was
Yeah, I saw
dude,
you,
the might of God. It was insane, bro. I literally went to go print a piece of paper at FedEx. I was like, I need to get something printed. I need it ASAP. And I go to FedEx and I get in my car and I drive. And I was like, first 5 seconds on the road, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
Right.
Dude, it was like I couldn't, my windshield wipers were going as fast as possible and I still couldn't see the road.
Yeah, see, that's
was
like every
dangerous.
Texas storm right there.
Dude,
That's
it was
like
hella dangerous. And I'm driving and, you know, I get to FedEx and it was like insane, dude. The roads were at least 2 inches with water, you know, and I'm just like,
Wow.
what the hell? And so like I parked I didn't even park in the parking lot because that'd be too far to walk in the rain, right? So I parked right next to the curb and went into the FedEx store and I was in the rain for like probably 5 seconds and I was soaked.
That's crazy.
Completely soaked. And I go in there, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Well, like, why are you dressed like that? Because I was wearing slides, gym shorts, and a hoodie. Like, I was like, hey, I don't want to, you know, have a bunch of clothes to dry off, you know? Like,
right.
so-
That's smart thinking right there.
facts, dude. And that's also just how I dress when I'm chilling at home on a rainy
Right.
day, you know? And
5 minutes of suffering for 10 minutes of pleasure.
that's right, baby, the glory.
Right.
And so then when I'm leaving FedEx, after I get my paper done, I'm driving and I all of a sudden see 2 cars go into this giant puddle and their cars go half underwater. And I was like, whoa. And I like slammed on my brakes a little bit. And I was like, holy crap, I'm not driving in that water, bro. I don't know if my car can do that, you know? Like literally half their car was underwater. I was like,
That's
I don't think
crazy.
my car can do that. I would drive a Prius, you know? And so I was just like, nope. And so I turned into this parking lot next to me. I'm like thinking, yeah, I'm safe. You know, I'm like, phew, you know, wipe the sweat off my brow and you know, I'm driving and then my car goes underwater and I was like, oh, like, I couldn't even see, dude. And then I realized I looked 3 feet in front of me, like 5 feet in front of me. There's a giant whirlpool. Dude,
Oh
a
my.
whirlpool starts forming right in front of my car. And I was like, oh crap, dude. And I'm like,
It's probably like one of the storm drains.
it was one of the storm drains that was just swirling.
That's
like
wild,
deep,
man.
dude. It was deep. I was like, whoa.
Did one of the manholes get knocked loose?
I don't know.
Because that can happen if the pressure builds up too much. Like,
Whoa.
because those aren't, you can take a crowbar and pop those off like
Yeah.
the big metal manhole covers.
Yeah, but dude, I was freaking out. So I like dodged the whirlpool and drive, and I have to like drive a little bit underwater, and like then I, you know, kind of maneuvered around the big puddle that people were like didn't even see. It was dangerous, dude. Like they would drive and then just like
Yeah,
literally,
that's a nice way to hydroplane, dude.
dude. Like you could like you'd have to have Jesus tires, bro, because
Yeah.
like
Bro,
literally
you come
your
out
car
to
would
Texas,
just go underwater. It was just giant
Bro.
puddle.
you come out to Texas, man. That's how half of our storms are. But our infrastructure is built for that. You'll go onto like the side of the roads and there's culverts, like ditches that are just for rain flow. Like it's wild.
It's not built for California.
Yeah, California is
that.
not built for
Dude,
those.
so we've been like, you know, experiencing some crazy stuff lately. I don't think it's ever been like this in my life, dude. It's been insane lately. But you know,
like it's El Nino when I was in like 5th grade. In the behind Sunset Ranch Elementary School, big old like pretty much valley almost.
yeah,
And it would fill with water.
Yeah.
During that year only, it never happened again. But we got so much rain. It was like a river,
Wow.
literally. Like I say, at least like 20 feet of water, like
Damn.
filled that big valley. Like
dude, that's what's happening next to my complex right now. Like literally
Yeah.
there's a giant field with the highway or whatever. And wait a minute. I think that, wait, is Sunset Ranch in Rockland?
Yeah,
Dude,
it's over by Whitney.
bro, I live next to we're talking about the same field right now. We have
I
to
think
be.
we are.
I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same field because like literally this field next to my house is filling with water, bro, like a giant lake, like a pond.
Damn.
And then there's a river that like flows through it.
Well, there used to be we go like fishing,
Crazy.
but like the new areas would flood during those storms.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild.
Is it by William Jessup University?
I don't know. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're talking about the same thing, dude. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So now,
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
dude, it's literally happening again.
Yeah. That's
wow.
crazy, bro. Me and my friends, we always talked about going swimming in it, like during the storm. And I was like, but now that I'm older and have that thought, I'm like, oh, there could be a lot of stuff under that water.
Seriously, bro, like metal and garbage.
Anything.
Yeah, just dirty, gross. But yeah. But anyways, yeah, a little sidetrack there. But wow, dude, that's crazy. That's funny. We just realized that we like are talking about the same flood, like pond forming because of the flooding. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. That's
wow, bro. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it now because I lost it, but okay, here it is. So as I was kind of explaining before about how like our energy, like our thoughts are energy, right? And and that means our memories are energy. And if our brain is an infinite store of energy, then we can, think about anything and always store it. So he says here, okay, thoughts are energy. Because you think in a language, your thoughts are structured by the limitations and rules that govern the particular language in which you think. When you express those thoughts aloud, you create sound waves, which are a form of energy. The sound waves created by the interaction of your vocal cords and your tongue are structured by the context of your message. Microwaves are energy. Many phone calls are relayed by microwaves, which means that the microwave energy has to be structured in a way that reflects the message it's carrying. Laser light is energy. And if you've ever witnessed a demonstration of a laser light show or laser art, what you've seen is pure energy taking shape that reflects the creative desires of the artists. Crazy.
Yeah.
All of these are good examples of how energy can take shape, form, and structure. Of course, there are many more, but there is one more example that illustrates the point in the most graphic way. What are dreams? I'm not asking you what dreams mean or what you think their purpose is, but rather, what are they? What are their properties? If we assume that dreams take place within the confines of our skull, then they can't be composed of atoms and molecules. There wouldn't be enough space for all of the things that exist take place in our dreams. Crazy, dude. Yeah, that's so crazy. Dream experiences have to be of the same proportions and dimensions as the things we perceive when we are awake, experiencing life through our five senses. The only way this could be possible is if dreams were a form of structured energy. Because energy can take on any size or dimension, but in doing so doesn't actually take up any space. I kind of said that as I was going to continue, but that's just like the sentence ends there. Now, hasn't already occurred to you, there's something here that's really profound. If the memories, distinctions, and beliefs we've acquired as a result of our encounters with the external environment represent what we've learned about the environment and how it works, and if these memories, distinctions, and beliefs exist in our mental environment as energy, and if the energy doesn't take up any space, then it could also be said that we have an unlimited capacity for learning. Well, I don't think that it could be said because I'm saying it. Boom.
Yeah.
That's freaking dope, dude.
It is, man.
We have an unlimited capacity for learning because everything that happens in our brain is just energy. And we have an unlimited, like, there's nothing that stops that like, there's no barrier to that. There's no like cap to the amount of energy that can be stored in our brain. Dude, it's crazy. I'm like, dude, that's so profound, bro. So profound.
It takes me back to like where you said the laser light show, right? It's all forms of energy, but at the end of the day, you have someone there directing the energy. Like you said, it's energy, but someone was pick that energy into what that laser.
Dude, seriously.
Then that makes me think of people like when they lose their mind, right? You have the vessel, but now you have no one to control it.
Dude, seriously.
So there you go.
That's so cool.
It is. But yeah, infinite learning. We can never stop.
And that kind of begs the question, why would you ever stop learning? Why would you ever?
You don't know how to use the knowledge. There's actually one of the tarot cards talks about it. So the tarot card I'm talking about is the Hermit, which is actually a card that I relate to a lot, which is kind of funny. This is the card that was first drawn as me in my first tarot reading. So the story of the hermit, if you know what a hermit crab is, he goes from shell to shell, right? When he grows, he moves on to a new shell until he finally finds that permanent shell, till he dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But until that point, he's always growing and learning, right? So that's the hermit. So the hermit, bouncing from place to place, has nowhere to call home, right? He creates this concoction. He's always at home in nature, though, right? Loves animals, all this type of stuff, is at home in nature, lives in nature. He creates this tincture, and it's a purple tincture. The reason it's purple is very important for why it's relatable to me.
You're wearing purple. Wow, just solved it.
That and something else. So he creates this tincture. You take it, it allows you to have the knowledge of the universe. You know everything, right? But only if you use it right. You can unlock knowledges unknown to other people. Things that, who knows, right? So he creates this purple tincture, and he accidentally spills 3 drops of it onto himself, right? And he unlocks the power of the universe. But it scares him, right? He doesn't do with all this knowledge, right? There's so much to decipher, to know about, and he can't wrap his brain around it. So he goes and he hides away, right? And until I don't remember which card it was, but a lady, I'm pretty sure is the high priestess, comes and finds him and makes him take the potion again and shows him, no, you created something beautiful. You just have to see it the right way. So, and then he goes onto that and moves on, right? So that's the story of the hermit. Is he created this tincture, he gets all the knowledge, and then it scares him, right? So he hides away. But the reason it's so relatable to me is because I had an acid trip like that. Right? I took 3 little pieces of a tab. It's a purple gel tab.
Oh, shoot.
Right? And
that's crazy. Just like the story.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the story.
Wow.
And I complete ego death. Like, I saw things I did not want to see. But it was what I needed to see. But it scared me. I didn't know what to do with what I saw. Like, and it's not even that I saw things. It's that I thought things that I needed to think, but my subconscious was like, no, you don't want to think those, right? The depression kicking in. And after the trip ended, I was terrified. I had a horrible trip, or so I thought, right? And the reason it's so relatable is because I took acid again. And it was the most beautiful trip I'd ever had. Nice, mellow, like pure acid. We got a test and everything. But it took me back to the same trip before, where it scared the living shit out of me, right? aliens. I saw aliens. I saw myself unwrapped as a lizard person.
Whoa.
I saw crazy stuff when I fell asleep, man.
Yeah.
But what I was able to do on the other acid trip is it showed me. I closed my eyes. I was listening to music. I was guided through it, and the LSD, the acid, showed me, no, it's not. You're not an alien. Those were the hallucinations. You didn't allow your mind to accept. You didn't allow yourself to accept what was happening, the depths of your thoughts. Right?
Yeah.
And so when I was able to finally decipher that, it was like, wow, it's not what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy.
Your shirt is rubbing on your mic. You gotta lift it up.
But yeah, I was like, I'm not crazy. I didn't see alien people. It was just a mild hallucination, but my brain was so caught up in it that it, scared me. It saw what I didn't want to see.
Right.
And that's why it's relatable to that card in particular. But it was just
that's
the off chance that they drew that card, and then, and I didn't know anything about tarot. I was still like super skeptical. I was like, there's no such thing as magic. They can't read my thoughts. But it's not about reading the thoughts. It's not about the person that gives you the cards. It's not even about that. People have such a misunderstanding of what a tarot reading is, right? When I did the tarot reading, they handed me the cards. They told me to put my energy, and I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, and by the way, this is a very close friend that did it, and up until this point, it's not like she was convincing me to get a tarot reading. It's not like she was like, pushing this agenda on me, pushing this idea. I hit her up and I was like, I had this crazy dream. I want to get it deciphered. And I know like tarot specializes in getting dreams deciphered.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, let's try this out. Right. Super skeptical. I don't believe it, but I also don't not believe it at the same time. Because I didn't know what it really was. I heard that there was a lot of misconceptions of it. And so I went and they put my energy in it. I held it, right? I smoked on it. I blew my smoke on it, whatever. Looked at every card, felt it. She shuffled it 7 times. That's a good number to shuffle cards, 7 times. And then cut the deck and then drew the cards. I did a 15 card draw, and it's not about, you're not going to draw the cards and be like, oh my gosh, right there, my future.
Yeah.
You have to decipher the cards, right? And it goes back to your subconscious. Each card has a different meaning to each person, right? There's a metaphor hidden in every card, right? And the way she drew the cards about my dream and about everything else, it was all a metaphor about subconsciously what was going on in my life and how I couldn't wrap my finger around it.
Right.
I couldn't grab hold of my life and take control. I was letting all these things happen to me. I was just sitting back and I was watching it all, when I could have been taking control, making the things I want to happen. And that's pretty much what it showed me was my storyline up until this point. And then tarot cards give you options for the future. It's not telling you the future. It's giving you possibilities, paths, almost like a multiverse. If you do this, this could happen, that could happen. But it's not directly telling you your future. You already know. Now, each card represents something different. Some of the cards literally represent fear, worthlessness, stuff like that, and they could be representative of multiple different feelings for one card.
Right.
And when you get a tarot reading, they're going to draw those cards. They're going to decipher them. And what I loved about the one I did, and a lot of people don't do this, is deciphering the cards, but also asking questions about your real life, getting personal. Mm-hmm. And one of the cards, actually, there was 2 meanings to it. Either you're expecting a baby or you're having trouble in your relationship, both of which had just happened. right? Got a baby scare, and then we're having trouble in our relationship.
Wow.
And this was not even like 3 days before.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
So the dream I had that I was getting interpreted is I was supposed to be moving out with my girlfriend, moving to Austin, Texas. I got moved there. I'd already been hired. I was going to start. I go, nice place to live. Like, I was about to make it. $16 an hour starting. And the lady had told me, she told me stick around. They'll get started at 20. We just have to make sure you're sticking around. And if you take I forgot the word she used, initiative, show up early, blah, 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 you're going to make it real good. And it was guaranteed 40 hours, usually 60 hours a week. Okay. So I was making $16 an hour plus that overtime every week. I was about to be making it going minimum wage, and I was going to be a floor removal. It was like a specialist floor removal. So the way they did it was clean air, whatever. So rich people, allergies. And the dream I had is we were driving. I don't know where we were driving. And I saw cops in the rearview mirror. And I was like, I wonder why the cops are pulling us over. And at the time I had, nothing illegal in the car. I was chilling. I was literally curious. Why are they pulling us over? So I look back at the road, and all of a sudden the car wheel just jerks to the left, and we hit something, and the car flips over. We hit something.
This is a dream?
Yeah, this is the most vivid dream, one of 3 that I've ever had.
Whoa.
Right, we're driving, and I'm with my girlfriend. She's in the passenger seat, and I'm literally talking to her in the dream. I'm like, why are we getting pulled over? And it's I don't know. And so we crashed. It was the wheel hit something, bam, and the car flips over it, right? And I'm and the type of sleep was super weird. It wasn't I was dreaming, but I wasn't asleep at the same time. It's almost I was watching myself. I was conscious, but wasn't conscious at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we crashed, and everything flies out of the car. I remember I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so when we hit that, I flew out of the windshield and slid across the concrete. Whoa. And it was actually on the same road that I used to work on, Tony Tap Road. It's an old country road, and on that road is the hot tree farm where I used to work. And I remember it exactly where we crashed. It's towards the end of the road, a little bit before the stop sign. And it's because it's a straightaway, but it's a forest road. There's tall pine trees on each side. Yeah. Country road. And all of our stuff slides everywhere. There was way more stuff than there should have been. So I was so we were packed, ready to leave.
Yeah.
And I was what the heck? But we didn't die. I woke up, and literally I woke up and I was freaking out. I woke up but what's funny, my girlfriend was sleeping next to me, and she didn't wake up or anything.
Yeah.
We were supposed to leave in 30 minutes for work. I woke up 15 minutes before my alarm. And I was bro, there's no way. What in the world just happened? But it was the weirdest dream because it felt so real. It felt but I also felt different after the dream. So it felt like I had been reborn. Almost. I didn't have the same feelings I had. I didn't have the same thoughts. Almost I transitioned into a different reality. Almost. That's what it felt like. And so I was okay, Alyssa, you're gonna, decipher my dream. Mm-hmm. Right? So she deciphers it. And the tarot reading is so specific. It brings up 2 lovers. One that I'm with, one that I want to be with, but can't get the balls to leave my girl to be with.
Damn, dude.
I'm with that girl. I'm with that girl right now.
Hey.
Right? And so I'm just it's too specific. And I'm a skeptic still. I'm and the whole time I'm freaking out. I'm yo, it gives me chills to this day to think about it. And every tarot reading I've had since has been just as accurate, if not more. Yeah. The deck I have right my friend gave me, but when he does it, I don't know how he does it. I'll be asking questions. He'll flip a card and it answers it. I'm what? But it's just mind baffling. Like you can't. But I went into it as a skeptic. I was like, okay, like there's no way that you could fake this. Like she's literally drawing the cards, and the cards are telling me my future and my past. Like, but they're also bringing up things that like you wouldn't even think about, like topics that make you think about certain things. And that's what the cards do. That's how they work. They're not reading your future. They're making you think of something that's already happening. Right?
Bro,
It brings your problem to perspective.
Yeah.
That's what it does. But
that's
it can
really
be
cool. That's what shrooms does, in my opinion. It brings you to another plane of reality to where you can kind of see things as if you're like looking at it in a mirror.
I want to try shrooms. I'm actually going to try them soon.
You've never
I've never
done them?
tried them. I 0.5, but I didn't really feel anything.
Mhm.
The microdose, you know. But I'm about to take like 1.5, maybe 2 grams of some penis envy. I'm gonna see what everybody's talking about.
I would do 2, just because like that was so like I just want to preface before I talk about this. You know, I haven't done hard drugs in over 4 years for everyone that's like
Yeah, bro.
watching. However, I don't believe that shrooms is a hard drug. It's from
I don't believe
nature. It's created by God, created by the universe. It is not man-made. Shrooms has zero negative effects, short-term or long-term, and has a profound psychological benefit as proven by scientists as well. So,
Exactly.
you know, but the first time that I did shrooms was a couple years ago. It was actually the first thing that I did besides weed, which I also don't do anymore. But
Really, you did that before you smoked?
no. I did it after. Did I say
Oh, okay.
before?
Yeah, you said before, and I was
Okay,
about
no.
to be like, really?
That'd be crazy. No, that'd be crazy. So no, I did
was
that.
about
This
to
is
be
the
so
first.
surprised.
This is the first thing that I did that was like not weed. You know, it was like weed, and then I did shrooms. But I did 2 grams my first time with a bunch of my friends, and it was like the coolest experience ever, bro. Like we were up super late. Oh no. We were up super late. I remember falling asleep around 10 p.m. though. Which for me now is late, but anyways, not back then. Anyways, you know, just extreme amounts of like love that I felt for the people that I was with. And, you know, my friend that showed up, I literally was like, bro, I forgot you existed. Like, I love you, bro. Like, it was so funny. Like, he rolls up on his longboard, and I was like, bro. It was like meeting him for the first time, like all the memories and like feelings that I like felt for my friend, you know, all just came rushing back to me in like one instant. I was like, dude, I forgot that you existed. Oh my God, I freaking love you, bro. Like, come here. Like, it was crazy. I was like, dude, I'm so happy you're here right now. Like, it was just cool, dude. And like,
That's awesome.
Just we talked to my friend's dad about his near life or near death experiences. Like he's almost died like a couple times, and he was like talking about, you know, like and like what death means to him and like all this crazy deep stuff. And we're like, what the heck? And you know, before all that happened, we had watched. I went out by myself. I was like inside my friend's house the whole time we were tripping, and you know, I go outside by myself because I was just like, dude, what the hell? I forgot there was like an outside world.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, there's a whole nother out there like that I can explore. And I just like go out by myself on my longboard.
Yeah.
Where he lives in Lincoln, there was just a big field with like a dead end, you know, field. And it was perfect for watching the sunset. Perfect spot.
Was this by Sun City?
No, it's near like Joyner Parkway.
Is it by 12 Bridges?
No. I know what you're talking about though. I know what you're talking about, but this is a different spot. Also, that spot doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, they probably built it up.
Yeah, it's
the only 2 I'm thinking about are the ones that are right next to the school, and then further down by like the Walmart.
Yeah. No, that spot that you're talking about, I tried taking a girl there like last year. Yeah, and they already like just to like watch the sunset. And I'm like, dude, I swear I wasn't doing anything non-wholesome.
Right.
But no, I took her there to like watch the sunset, but it was like all built with houses and everything. And I was like,
That's
what?
sad, dude.
Yeah, because it was such a cool spot. But so anyways, yeah, so I go out there by myself, and dude, the colors of the sunset and just like the feelings that made me feel just being out there by myself. You know, it was
Yeah.
like blue and purple and like just orange, like it was so crazy. Uh, it was beautiful, and I like
Yeah.
literally started crying, dude. Like I was just like feeling so much love for just like the universe and nature and just like everyone that I was with. Like it was just so intense. But yeah, I would highly recommend doing at least a 2 gram dose because like microdosing is cool, and you can like feel pretty good from that. But it's not so much about just feeling good. It's also about like
Yeah.
you can have like a heightened sense of focus from it and just like
Exactly.
you
Because
know
that's exactly it's supposedly different. Because first thing after smoking, you did shrooms, right? The first thing I did after was I did acid.
yeah.
I did 2 tabs my first time. It was balls to the walls, crazy, man.
That's insane.
It was crazy.
That's
and
insane.
people talk about crazy visuals on acid. There's no such thing. Like unless you're taking so much acid, like it's a mental.
I see crazy stuff on
I've
that.
seen crazy stuff, but not when my eyes are open.
Dude, I've seen
like-
insane things. Like
Really?
one time, everything in my vision was pixelated.
Really,
Like
bro.
it was, I don't know, maybe it wasn't real acid, but like, dude, I mean,
Yeah.
I've
The
done,
stuff I'm talking about is pure. Like even the like research I've done says the same thing. Like you shouldn't have too much hallucinations on acid. Unless I don't remember, but it was like the equivalent of like 10 of the TADs we have.
oh wow.
And I was like, wow, because that's when psychedelics were created, right? Back in the face from wheat, out of all things, LSD.
Yeah.
Not psychedelics created, but LSD was created. Correct myself there. It was from wheat, right? I don't remember the doctor's name, but back before World War One, he discovered they were trying to synthesize wheat to grow it faster.
Yeah.
And so they were breaking apart the wheat, and that's one of the things, the chemicals that they found was LSD. And one of the documentaries I watched about it talked about how the scientist was actually interviewing himself, but he talked about how he got some on his skin and it made him like trip balls. So
Yeah.
being a natural scientist, he was like, whoa, what could have caused that? So, you know, he obviously came back to the LSD, got on his skin. That had to be what it was. So being the scientist, he ran a couple experiments on some rats. He's like, well, I mean, they kind of just go agitated for a couple hours and then they stop. So I'm going to try it. So he does it. But back then, they didn't know that, you know, 0.005 micrograms is a good dose. You know, so he was like, okay, 100 grams should be good. Yeah. And he'll talk about like riding his bike home. He had to have his lab assistant literally escort him home on his bike. And he'll talk about like on his way home, how it was like tunnel vision and like, you know, how his trip ranged from really good to horrible on an instant.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people back then had a misunderstanding of. It was so powerful. They didn't know that. So you had all these people back in the 30s, and I think it was in the 40s when they realized, oh my gosh, this stuff is so incredible at really, really small doses. And that was when MK Ultra came around, and the government wanted to use LSD to test it and to see what they could do with it, you know, what it really was. And that's when it was like horrible. And that's where the whole LSD trying to get help. You know, we have things set up today where you can, if you're tripping balls, you can call someone to get help. Mm-hmm. You can go to a police station and they're going to help you, you know.
There also, I think, is a line you can call.
But yeah, there is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And but imagine back then, you know, you're going crazy on LSD, and you know, like what are people's reaction going to be? Let alone you have no idea what you've taken. you know?
Dude, for real, bro. If you don't even know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's why.
bro. Really, really amazing conversation here today, dude. Like,
Yeah, me too, bro.
we talked about so much stuff. There, I don't know if there's a bad trip hotline. I don't think there is. I just looked it up. It's not really saying anything about it. But yeah, bro. Well, I think we should end it here. It's almost been an hour and a half.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Dude, freaking deep.
Yeah.
And we went down the rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, bro. Well, I wanna say thank you for your time and coming on here, bro. Like, it's awesome to be able to catch up with you on this stuff, because this is kind of how our friendship stemmed.
Exactly.
Is just
course,
talking
man.
about this kind of stuff. And I think that you'll definitely be a guest on this show in the future for sure. Because kind of what I want to do is, until I start to, have actual guests on here, because I want to have a studio and stuff where I do that, but just kind of like have conversations with my friends about stuff, But yeah, dude. Well, anyways, for everyone that's been watching today, I appreciate your time and taking a time out of your day to listen to us talk about this stuff. And I think it's pretty enjoyable, to be honest.
Yeah,
we're talked about some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, well, everyone, and I hope you have a happy and successful rest of your day, and have a good night. Take care.
Alrighty. Thank you to everyone who watched. If that viewer on YouTube is real, thank you for staying the whole time. You get a gold star. Ding. Well, that was that. As you see, we talked about a lot of different things, and there was just a lot of different topics mentioned. And honestly, that's some of my favorite stuff to talk about. Talking about energy and how our dreams are actually thoughts, and that our thoughts are just energy that's conscious of itself. It's like, that's just insane. So yeah, I hope you have a happy and successful rest of your night, wherever you are, and have a wonderful life. Take care.